My name is Dusty Cole, and welcome to the Business Builders Podcast, where we interview salespeople, entrepreneurs, and business owners and learn how they overcame challenges to build a successful business. So welcome back to the Business Builders Podcast. My name is Dusty Cole, and this is episode 5, when I get to welcome my wife, Heather Cole, to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. And this is a special, or a little bit different episode, where Heather is going to kind of dive into something a little bit personal, and then we will get into how that kind of morphed into some positive change in our business. So, Heather, you at an early age were diagnosed with rheumatoid juvenile arthritis. Did I say that right?
Juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay. So maybe explain what that is.
Yeah. So when I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, JRA, which is an autoimmune disease that affects your joints. And so it can be very painful, which was definitely the case for me. So it basically makes your joints very inflamed, and it can affect your organs. It can limit your movement and the things that you're able to do. So that was the case for me. It affected the whole right side of my body. So I had it in my right eye, my jaw, my right wrist, my right knee, and my right ankle. And it definitely was very painful, and I was limited in the things that I was able to do physically growing up.
So how did the diagnosis kind of come about? How did that kind of happen?
Good question.
If you can remember it, you were so young.
Well, my mom and dad have told me stories. So I was 2. I was crying a lot, limping on my right ankle, and they didn't know what it was. JRA was not common back then. There was no medications. It was so rare for a child back then, my age, to have it. So it was like the last thing that the doctors thought it was. They actually thought I had cancer at first. They did a biopsy and then finally discovered that that's what it was.
I see. So what was the treatment like after that?
There was no treatment, really. There was no medication back then. I was on aspirin, which created other health problems, stomach ulcers and things like that. In the beginning, physical therapy was not something that the doctor recommended. It was basically like they wanted me in a bubble, like, don't do anything, don't move it, like, just keep it safe, protect it, don't do certain activities, things like that.
So they kept you out of sports, kept you out of PE and things like that. And looking back, what do you think about that?
Gosh, things are different now. There are different medicines, there are different treatments that they didn't have back then, but they didn't have it back then, so it just was what it was. I feel like I did miss out on a lot. I was never on a sports team, or, in intermediate school, I was in the library during PE with a doctor's note, things like that. So
Right. So as you got a little older, like into your teenage years and things, how did it kind of play into your life then?
Yeah. So one thing that I didn't mention is, because I was diagnosed when I was 2, my body was developing. So my bones were growing. Well, what it did was it came in and it basically stunted my growth. So the right side of my body is smaller than my left side. And so that created all kind of, emotional issues and tons of insecurities.
Because there's already so many things kids are going through at that age, and when you pile something like that on top, right? It was very hard, I can imagine. But you're in remission now.
Right.
So how did that happen?
Yeah. So I was 18. So from the time I was 2 until I was 18, I saw my rheumatologist. I saw an eye doctor regularly, regular blood work, went in, and it went into remission. I don't know why.
Is it not common for that to be the case?
I mean, I guess it can happen. It typically will come back, though, as you get older. But the doctor explained it to us like it's in remission. So it wasn't actively showing up in my blood work, but he said it came through like a forest fire is basically how he explained it. So it came in and did permanent damage to my body. Movement I'll never get back. My bones are, fused together in my wrist and my ankle.
Right.
Things that I won't ever
Yeah, you can't reverse that. So, I mean, anything you want to just like, I think a lot of people don't understand, the limitations physically you've had. So you've on your right side, limitations in your wrist movement,
Yep.
ankle movement.
I can't put my right. A lot of people would probably look at me and be like, "There's nothing wrong with her,"
Right.
But the people that are closest to me know.
Right.
But yes, I can't put my right wrist flat on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. My bones are fused together. For the longest time, I couldn't put my right foot on the ground.
Right.
But I guess we'll get into that
You can now.
later.
Yeah. So I remember early in our kind of marriage and relationship, even though your arthritis was in remission, you still had some joint issues.
Yes.
So even though it was in remission, you had some other health stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your knees would swell.
Yes.
Right.
So it didn't show up in my blood work, but
Okay.
I still, from those, the damage that it did, it still affected my body.
Right.
And so what you're talking about is my knee would get swollen and I would have to get the fluid drained.
Right.
I mean, that was well through my adult
Right.
years.
Yeah. It was in our 20s, I believe. So.
And then before we started our business, my job required me to type a lot on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was, 8 years ago probably. So, I mean, this was well into my adult years. And it's been in remission since I was 18. But I was in so much pain because of the limited movement that I had.
I remember thinking you had carpal tunnel or something, trying to figure it out.
Oh, it was awful. And so I went back to my rheumatologist after not going for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, there was, medicines that you could get on. The treatment plan was different. People understood and knew what it was.
Right.
And so I went in. This was before we had our kids. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I'm in excruciating pain. She did an MRI. My arthritis was still in remission.
Mm-hmm.
It was just from the damage that it did to my body.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, I can put you on some medicine, but the side effects are you may not be able to have kids. And I was like, well, forget it. Like, I'll just deal with it like I have,
I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this podcast is to highlight how we overcome challenges to build a successful business. So, I mean, we're going through this huge challenge that Heather had, and obviously it's much bigger than our business. But we'll get into soon how it really did help her become a leader, from my eyes, a better leader and a better business owner, coming through and getting through what she got through and overcoming those challenges. So, anything else about the adolescent years that you think maybe there's someone out there with JRA that you might want to speak to before we kind of move into the adult time?
No, just I think the main issues, there were a lot of emotional challenges, a lot of physical challenges, that just kind of flowed over into my adult life from that period.
And I know, like, our son has asthma and eczema, and but plays sports and tries to push through it. And I know one thing as a parent that you've always done is been like, don't make a big deal about it, right?
Yeah.
Just help him push through it. Don't make a big deal about it. So I think that's one thing that's helped us with our kids.
Mm-hmm. I was always in a bubble.
Right.
Like protected and which I think like highlighted the issues. And
right.
So I try not to do that.
Try not to
kids.
do that.
Yeah.
Try to minimize it a little bit if you can. So there came a point in your life. So you never worked out. Okay. So, I mean, you were never on a sports team. So you were never exposed. Even people that didn't do a lot of sports were at least exposed a little bit to some sort of physical activity, some sort of running or lifting. Even if they played soccer for 2 years, they did it. You did nothing.
No, I mean, I remember like the older I got, my treatment plan included like physical therapy.
Okay.
And so once I started doing the physical therapy, I think I remember like trying to go to the gym just to see what it was like. And of course it was not successful.
Right.
But nothing really more than physical therapy.
Right. So you ended up in a gym as an adult. What led to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I just got to the point to where, I don't know, like almost like I wanted to prove to myself, like, can I really not do anything about this? Like, I was in constant pain all the time still, even though it had been in remission since I was 18. I wasn't on any medication. I didn't want to be on medication. That was just me. I mean, some people need medication. But I was like, I did physical therapy. Like, what if I just tried to get some movement back, because I was so stiff. Like, what if I could do it?
Right. But I know you hooked up with a personal trainer. So how did that happen? Like, what would...
Yeah. So I don't remember the exact thing that happened, but I called a local gym and very vaguely told the owner, actually answered the phone, and I very vaguely told him like what I was trying to do, and he said, I have the perfect person
so that took courage, right, to step out and make that phone call. Took a ton of courage. And if I remember in that point in our life, we all kind of go through, at least I can speak for myself, like we're super healthy, and then maybe we get too focused on our business or in our kids, and we're not as active, or we're not eating as well as we should. And that was a point in my life when I wasn't exercising, I wasn't eating good. It was just all work and all kids. And then you took this leap of faith and found yourself in a gym, which completely changed the trajectory of our life as a family, I think. So you met Nathan.
Yeah. So that's the whole story in itself, how all that happened. So the owner said that he had the perfect person. So anyway, I scheduled the time to meet, and you were going to go with me, and you did go with me.
Yep.
But the day that I was supposed to meet him, I went to lunch with Carlin, who's my best friend since childhood. And she has seen me, my ups, my downs. She's like, she knows everything there is to know about my history with my arthritis. And we got in the car, and I just like lost it. Like, I just broke down, and I was like, I'm not going. Like, I was scared to death. I'm like, I can't even lift a weight. Like, I'm not going.
Right.
And, she cried with me, and then she was like, no, you're going. Like, you're going. And so anyway, I ended up going. You went with me. Could not even lift a 5-pound weight with my right wrist. So that's when it all started.
But you matched up well with Nathan. You were comfortable with him, and he had a skill set of working with people that either had injuries or what do you want us to call it? Like limitations.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that was big for you, right?
Yep. Yeah, he was really patient. I didn't feel like I had to go in there and lift crazy weights. Like, it was all just really trying to get my mobility back and see if I could.
So it was very important. I hear a lot of times out there people say, well, why do you need a personal trainer? You just go in there and work out. Well, it was more than that to you, right? You needed someone to show you some other ways to do these movements where it wouldn't create pain and you could do it safely.
Yes, that's a great point. So I think I had this kind of idea in my mind of what working out at the gym looked like. Like, I didn't know you could modify push-ups. I just thought I'd never be able to do one because I couldn't put my hand flat on the ground. And so, yes, he showed me that I could modify things and still get the same result. And it was painful. Like, it was painful.
In the spots? In your joints, it was painful? And then how did you know that was okay to push through that type of pain?
I trusted his experience.
Yeah. And then you gained mobility there, right?
Absolutely. No pain today. I have zero pain.
So how's that?
I mean, I don't know, like with arthritis, like if you're not moving your joints, they get stiff, right? So that limits your movement even more, creates pain, like,
Right.
And so I got in the gym, and it took a while. Like, I had to work through the pain. I didn't move my wrist. I mean, I couldn't even lift a 5-pound weight. So my body was not used to doing that. I could not like do a squat, and my foot was not flat on the ground. My mobility was limited.
So you started with like a wedge or something?
Yes. Yep. And then just push through and
So you started to make gains, you started to gain momentum, you started to learn. I mean, because obviously I'm right there with you. I saw the whole thing, so I don't want to tell your story for you, but you changed the way you started eating. And then it changed really who you were, right? How so?
obviously my confidence level.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing is like when you don't think something's possible and then you achieve it,
Mm-hmm.
like that's life changing.
And that's something that you didn't get in sports, because
Right.
that's something kids get when they play
Yeah.
sports, right? They think that something's really, really hard, and they're
Mm-hmm.
able to push through, and they're able to do it and experience that. Well, that was taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you started, you really made these massive breakthroughs in health, right? You did what you can do, like 40 push-ups. You're doing unassisted pull-ups. How did your gains or your breakthroughs with your health translate into our business?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to my mind is before I was able to have success with my health journey, I was always scared to step out, like I was very insecure. I was not confident. I didn't like to be challenged. I basically back to that kind of in my bubble, like wanted
Mm-hmm.
to protect. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I was scared to step out. So
Mm-hmm.
I think after I kind of had some success with my health, I was like, man, like,
Mm-hmm. What else is possible?
yeah, like,
Yeah.
so that was the time that we kind of started our business. So it changed my whole mindset. Like, instead of looking at it like, oh, this is hard, this is a challenge, I'm like, look at it like, man, maybe we are going to be able to accomplish something awesome.
So you embrace the challenges more so.
Yeah.
What about your, like, I've seen that maybe not you're very good at the way you communicate with our people, and they follow you, and they know that you care about them. Do you think your ability to do that improved?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I am extremely empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about how that ties to business, for a long time, I allowed my circumstances growing up, my emotional kind of insecurities
Mm-hmm.
and things that I was dealing with, kind of, I would allow that to dictate how I reacted to certain situations,
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like in business, like, things like that happen. We don't always
So it's
agree.
like the victim, like the victim mentality, or was it more of just I can't change my circumstances,
Um,
or neither?
I think both.
Okay, both.
I think both. But I think the way that kind of relates to business is, things happen in business every day. We disagree. People may
Mm-hmm.
talk bad about you and your business,
Mm-hmm.
or things maybe aren't handled the way that you think they should be handled. And I think now that I've kind of gone through that, I give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, you never know what
Mm-hmm.
people are going through.
Mm-hmm. You also started to step out in your video marketing with confidence, and know that you had a message to share, and then you had value to share.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that comes with just experience in the business too,
I think so.
but I think it also, to me, I mean, from the outside looking in, seemed like it came from your health journey also.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think another way that it helps me in our business is, now I want to be vulnerable, whereas before I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So being vulnerable allows you to connect with people in a different way.
Absolutely. You can almost connect more through your faults than you do your
Right.
successes.
Yeah.
For sure. So what about, your you're a parent, so,
Mm-hmm.
Coming as far as you have with your health journey, how has it changed the way you parent?
Oh gosh. It's I never want my kids to I don't want to talk about my
Okay.
kids. I don't want to talk about
Okay.
that.
We won't talk about that one. So maybe share a little bit how, your health journey and how you've overcome has allowed you to be more empathetic towards our team members and connect with them at a higher level.
Yeah, I think it goes back to being vulnerable too,
Mm-hmm.
like connecting not just with our team, but just with our clients, sitting in somebody's living room and just connecting with them on a personal level, being vulnerable. Like, you just you don't know what people are going through,
Right.
Sometimes people may react a certain way because of something they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they,
What I think is interesting is like, you don't know how many other people are dealing with something similar. than what you are.
Exactly.
Either exactly what your health issue is, or something very, very similar. You started to become very genuine and open on social media about it.
Yeah.
And started to get some people reaching out to you. So you made a difference, I think, so I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I think too, like a lot of times I think just like in a business setting, most people are not vulnerable like that,
Right.
So I think having that creates more of like a family, like we care about each other. Like I'm going to share my most vulnerable things with you about my health in hopes that maybe it'll
Right. Going through that major challenge in your life, made it easier, at work, or what, has it helped you overcome challenges in the workplace?
I think so. I think, one thing that it has allowed me to do is, when I commit to something,
Mm-hmm.
I fully commit. Like if I say that I'm going to do something, I do it. And I think with business, like when you start a business, like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be fully committed. You have to
Right.
be completely vested. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And so I think going through that with my health, my exercise and all of that, I just have a different mindset around what commitment, like I'm not going to give up.
Right.
So like in our business today, like I'm going to do whatever I have to do to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish.
Right.
And I feel like going through that with my health has helped me kind of get to that place.
And I've seen you lead in that way. Like when we do our like competitions, or we make commitments in a group setting, you always do your commitments from a leadership, standpoint. And really people have no idea all the things you do behind the scenes to keep our business running and successful. So yeah, if there's someone out there that has some sort of struggle, it could be personal or in business, some sort of adversity to overcome, do you have any, words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, so I think the thing that really helped move me forward was finding a personal trainer, like finding somebody who wasn't just going to tell me what I wanted to hear, somebody who was going to push me, challenge me, hold me accountable, like all those things. And you need that in business too. And so
it could be a business coach, it could be, if you're, maybe you're struggling with addiction, it could be someone to help you with that. It could, maybe it's some other health, maybe you need to go to a certain doctor. Just spitballing here, right?
Yeah. I think in our business today, we've done that. Like we surround ourselves with people. We have a real estate coach who holds us accountable. I don't want somebody just to tell me what I want to hear anymore. Before I did,
Right.
I was, it intimidated me and scared me. And now my perspective on that is completely different.
Well, I'll just say that, what you've done and overcame has truly inspired me to be a better husband, father, entrepreneur, person. Definitely, you are an inspiration to me, and I'm so grateful to have you as a wife and a business partner. So that's the truth right there. So, so thank you, Heather, for coming on our podcast and sharing some very personal things that I know for quite some time you probably wouldn't talk about.
Yep.
And now you're willing to talk about because you've overcame and that it can help others. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
So thank you for tuning in to the Business Builders Podcast. We plan on releasing 2 new podcasts every month featuring local entrepreneurs, salespeople, and business owners. If you find our content valuable, please like, share, comment, tell us what you think, share your stories, and also subscribe.